Hello and welcome back to Fireside Improv, Chapter 13 of this Karl Franz saga. Karl Franz just took Lorelorn Forest away from the remnants of the rebellion, so now he is looking to continue to push north. The city had been previously taken by Ostland away from the Emperor, and he decided it's time to come back and sweep across Ostland and take these settlements directly under his control so that the Elector Count there can no longer cause him any trouble. On his way back, he may investigate to see what is going on with the plagues that was in the central lands. It might be time to investigate that a little bit further before sweeping back down and taking a look at his war against the von Carsteins. They did try to push into Reichland, but Weissenland was able to swoop back in and take it back. The Emperor still doesn't really trust Weissenland, does want to take their territory as well directly under his control and install more loyal subjects as the Elector Counts of Weissenland. The dwarves are still staying strong in the mountains as a force of the Emperor is there to protect them. He's not sure how long that force will be able to stay, but the Bretonnians are also proving to be a bit of a thorn in his side as they have pushed against his dwarven allies. They are primed to take Blackstone Host. They have already raised certain dwarven settlements. They've also dared to march in to Empire territories, presumably with the goal of settling in the mountain settlements that the Emperor previously raised. He has given them a warning to leave his territory. If they don't and they continue to push on directly through, he may finally have to take matters into his own hands.
Is it time? Summon the Elector Counts!
Blackstone Post has fallen to Bretonnia. There were brave men of the Empire who were stationed there as an outpost to their allies. The Emperor is not at all pleased. In fact, he is furious that they would dare to kill the soldiers of the Empire. He hoped that they would fall back, but they haven't. In the meantime, the Emperor is going to continue to push forward against Salzenmund. He is looking to claim those settlements.
I am Franz. They will obey. Yes,
and he wants to do it as quickly as possible.
Bring me to my men.
As there are still reports that vampire activity is continuing along the border of Reichland.
This will bolster the nation.
Vampires have streamed en masse into Reichland. They have again sacked the poor city, and now they are looking at other riches that they can find. Meanwhile, scouts have reported the strange sighting that Dirthu has actually taken to the sea, has gone all the way around Bretonnia, and may in fact sail and hit the wasteland and a surprise attack. The army in the mountains under Ralph Koch is being relieved of its duty of protecting the dwarven settlements. If that army has gone all the way around, it is needed to defend against the vampires instead.
Protector of the weak.
Altdorf is needing a little bit more to defend against the vampire threat. The Emperor has elected to get the Hellstrom rocket batteries out as quickly as possible.
I am Prince and Emperor.
He also knows that Ostland has actually marched down into the Flagland, so there isn't going to be too much of a threat up in the north. He is going to march back down to Reichland himself in order to help deal with that vampire threat. He is not able to wait and play around in the north.
It is time.
The city of Nuln is put under attack by a massive horde of zombies and other undead creatures. It's highly unlikely that they are going to survive. It was the last great city before Altdorf. The Emperor is not going to have a good time. Durthu has continued to come down into the great river that comes all the way to the core lands of Altdorf. The Empire is in a grave position here with all of the undead and Durthu himself marching all the way around.
What does the Emperor bid? To strengthen the Empire. Ulrich's will! Yes, a sound plan.
Yes. Yes, my lord.
Here to serve.
Von Carstein seems content with continuing to sack settlements and build up his war chest instead of occupying them directly. Perhaps he still fears the Emperor and wants to continue to bide his time and build up his strength before launching his grand assault against Reichland. But that does give the Emperor time to deal with Durthu, who has shown he is coming right on down the river. He is clearly after something along that coastline, something that the Emperor will not allow to go unchallenged.
Now, affirmative.
Meanwhile, Ostland has tried to do some kind of response to Theodric, but not in time, as the city does not have enough of a garrison to stand against Theodric, and he easily takes the city back.
So,
with Nordland secure, Theodric is going to be rewarded with that seat as an Elector Count. One by one, all of these Elector Counts are being replaced with those loyal to the Emperor. The vampires continue to wreak havoc across Wissenland as Dautenbach has now been completely razed to the ground. Refugees stream into Reichland from the terrorized countryside. Reichland is among the safest places left in the Empire, but even that continues to be raided, and the Emperor doesn't have the means to counter those raids. Meanwhile, Durthu has jumped onto land and has made his target clear. He is going after Gorsel, and the Emperor is doing his
Summon the
best
Elector Counts.
to get there in time. He doesn't want to be in a position where he can't actually fight it effectively. He doesn't want to push his soldiers to the complete limit. So he is going to slow it down just a little bit. The city might be lost, but he should be in a better position to take down the threat so it can't spread further. Up in the north, Theodric is going to push on
To the provinces.
and prepare to attack Norden
Sigmar
and
compels
continue
us.
right on along to Castle von Rauken.
By the comet!
Archlector, servant of the faith.
Durthu does in fact attack the city of Gorsel. The garrison does what it can to protect the fleeing civilians, but they are killed to the last. The vampires continue their reign of destruction as Weissenberg is the latest city of the Empire to be razed to the ground. The von Carsteins are not looking for captives, they're not looking for territory, they are just on a reign of destruction. Meanwhile, Orion has decided to help out Durthu and has jumped into the mountains to sack and destroy one of the dwarven carracks that were reclaimed. Has once again been razed to the ground. These mountains are a place of utter destruction. Karl Franz, though, is ready to march against Durthu. He has to punish those who would seek to do the Empire wrong, and Durthu is at the start. Karl Franz knows that he has had a mixed bag of results against the great spirits of Atholorn and his elven allies. He has typically relied on having more allies as well, additional armies coming in for reliable victories. He does not have this here. He knows it will be a tough battle before him. The elves have set up deep in the dense forests. It limits the Emperor's options. As usual, he has no option except to march directly at the elven force and the spirits and hits them head on without much ability to use his cavalry to flank. The Emperor has had a bit of success previously skirmishing with the elves, and so he decides to stay at range a little bit again in order to see what damage he can do before the lines meet. Perhaps Durthu will make a similar mistake as he made before and hold his position for a little bit too long. Already some of the elite elven archers were left all alone and are now running, leaving the Empire crossbows an ability to hit the front line of the elves and spirits.
Enemy wizard spotted! Keep your heads down, men! They're casting spells! Look out, spell!
The elves don't simply sit back, they are countering with some magic. Whether the good old-fashioned crossbow bolts or the magic will be more effective is not something that is yet known.
Enemy wizards! See them tremble! Feel the power!
Both sides have taken a good amount of initial damage in the skirmishing, and now the Empire is finally going to march forward as the elves have come up and are starting to fire more effectively back.
Sigma, preserve us! Take the ground! To battle! Ready for war! Very well! To me, men! War! Up!
The Empire front lines is struggling as it usually does. The battle is going back and forth. There is some good stuff going on the left flank as the Great Treeman is running. But the Empire line isn't doing the best either.
Sigma! Preserve us!
Durthu joined the battle in the very center, and the entire line of the Empire simply collapsed immediately on his presence, and the Emperor does not have any chance of pulling out a victory against him. The Emperor's elite army has been defeated by Durthu. Almost everything is gone. He orders his captain to retreat so that he does not die needlessly. And he goes ahead and retreats himself as well, hoping to get far away from Durthu so that at least some of his soldiers might be able to survive.
My orders are to move.
Direct me. Sigmarite Arch-Lector, ever vigilant.
To the provinces.
What does the Emperor
Up in the
bid?
north, Daedric does
Into
continue to
battle!
push on Norden. Again, the army was retreating away that Austin had gathered, so the garrison is left to fight for itself. The cowards are not worthy of protecting its own people. The Emperor loots the settlement and brings it back to Altdorf. It's been reinforced in his mind that he needs to continue to build up that infrastructure in Altdorf if he is going to stand against these additional threats that are before him. He can't simply allow the Empire to collapse because he is not able to attract those elite soldiers. Durthu does march against the remaining force of the Emperor. He does not have enough to stand against that enemy, and so he has no choice but to die valiantly along with all of his soldiers. Karl Franz is able to limp away from the battle. He makes his way back to the capital of Altdorf, where he is receiving medical attention. He hopes to be able to join the battlefield once again and get revenge against Durthu.
I will marshal the men.
Daedric doesn't take any additional time. He continues to push on against Ostland. He knows the dangers that are in the south. He has received the word that the Emperor was
By the
defeated
comet.
by Durthu, he
War
wants to be able to
calls.
go down and help the heart of the Empire as soon as possible.
It is time.
By Sigma. Weapon practice.
Orion has continued to push along the mountain range. The different factions within Athaloran are determined to destroy these dwarves and potentially wreak havoc on the Empire. Rorik has made the strange decision to push against
wisdom of the
Blackstone
land.
Post. The Emperor is going to recommend that instead he pushes back Orion away from the mountains, which is the more immediate threat to the settlements that he currently possesses. The Emperor understands the burning desire for vengeance that Rorik must feel against the Bretonnians for taking all of those Carracks away from him, but he has to look at what he has instead of what he has already lost. Up north, Phaedric is marching against the last settlement that Ostlin has up in that direction. Again, there is nothing really stopping him. There are simply not enough soldiers left behind in the garrisons, and he is able to sweep through it easily. And again, loot it and send those riches back to Altdorf.
To the provinces?
Altdorf is not the only settlement, though, that needs attention. Both Middenheim and Marienburg need to be built up as well. Marienburg is under threat from Durthu, so the Emperor is going to focus his attention on Middenheim to start building that up so that there are alternatives to Altdorf for the riches of the Empire.
The Empire.
What orders?
What does the Emperor bid?
Nuln has finally fully fallen to von Carstein. Vlad is now within striking distance of the seat of the Emperor, where he hopes to sit and rule the Empire himself. What he hopes to accomplish by ruling it as he corrupts the entirety of it is unclear, but it is something that the Emperor does not want to see happen. The Emperor knows that if he is going to counter the vampire threat, he is going to need some wizards of his own in order to push back the vampires and their own magic. So he is going to construct the Conclave of Battle Wizards in Altdorf so that he can start to bring them into his armies. The first of the Great Hellstorm rocket batteries have been recruited in Altdorf. The Emperor can't wait to get off his bed from recuperating from his defeats so he can go back after Durthu and reclaim Gorsel and turn his attention down to the vampires. He doesn't feel confident doing that until that back end is fully secure and taken care of.
Yes, General. Weapon practice.
Orion has taken the settlement up in the mountains and have settled it for their own. Carrick Ziflin has continued to march their armies away So they're going to have to take a settlement quickly if they are to survive. It's unlikely that the settlement up in the mountain will be able to hold out alone. And once it falls, it will again open up a path into the Empire for those Wood Elves and Spirits of Athaloran. Theodric has decided that it is time to go ahead and march back. He's going to take the northern route as he doesn't want to, in fact, get tangled up further south. Also doesn't have access rights to march through the lands of the Ice Court. While the Emperor is pleased with the deepening relationships he has had with the Ice Court and their help with stabilizing the eastern and northern parts of the Empire, he is a little bit suspicious about the aim of Tsarina Katerin, as he is going to want those territories back eventually in order to make sure that the Empire is whole and under his control. He only hopes that Katerin is willing to do that trade peacefully, and that he won't have to take matters into his own hands a little more directly.
So?
Ostland desires peace, and since their lands up in Ostland have already been conquered, the Emperor decides to go ahead and grant them a little bit of respite. Maybe they can even bring some peace to that central region that is gripped by plagues. If they are able to do that, he might actually let them remain in the Empire and not destroy them entirely. As expected, Lewin Leoncoeur marched across the pass of Helmgart and defeated the dwarven armies that had assembled there. It appears that the dwarves that are in these mountains are not going to be able to survive much longer between Orion and Lewin Leoncoeur. The western part of the Empire is going to have to be looked at carefully to determine if it's going to be able to hold on its own, or if the Emperor is going to have to try to create some additional space and buffer zone of his own over there. Down further south, the other dwarves are able to push back a little bit against the von Carsteins. They've taken Migdal, Bongulbarak, they've pushed into Grenstad, and so maybe there are some other dwarves that could benefit from an alliance with the Emperor. They are also pushing against the elves of Athaloran, so they might just be the dwarves that will be helpful in pushing back all of the evil that it has beset the Empire.